Show yourself, Obelisk the Tormentor!
Shadow game as I call your name! Winged Dragon of Ra! I summon the almighty Slifer the Sky Dragon!
What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr Games, and as you guys voted, I am bringing you an update to one of the fallen meta decks, and that is Thunder Dragon. So throughout this profile, I'll show you an update of how competitive this deck can be, but I'm also going to show you or explain to you why it is technically considered a fallen meta. So they've lost a couple of cards throughout the time, most importantly being Thunder Dragon Colossus. As you can kind of understand, he was a very big player. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. If you get this video to at least 50 likes, I will try to bring you either a test hand video or some duels with this deck. With all of that out of the way, let's get into today's profile of Thunder Dragon Chaos. So, we start off with triple Thunder Dragon. Now, obviously, the whole idea behind this card is you want to be discarding it to get another copy of itself. And if you're going second, when you make your boss monster a Thunder Dragon Titan, you can discard one to search out another one, pop a card. Discard one, search out the final one, pop a card. And if you were to activate Thunder Dragon Fusion again, put these all back into the deck, you can do it all again as long as you keep one of these in your hand. Then we move on to triple Thunder Dragon Roar. This one is probably the best of the more recent Thunder Dragon cards themselves, or Thunder Dragon monsters specifically. So you get to discard it to add to your hand one of your Thunder Dragon cards. So this allows you to bring back Thunder Dragon Fusion from the graveyard as well, if you haven't banished it to search you out a Thunder Dragon monster. If it is banished, you then get to special summon a Thunder Dragon monster from your deck. Now keep in mind you can only use one of the effects per turn, and that is the same for all of the other brand new Thunder Dragons as well. You can either use the discard effect, or you can use the banish effect. We then play triple Thunder Dragon Dark. Now this one's, again, the fact that it's a quick effect allows Titan to technically try and pop during your opponent's turn, which is where it gets a very good plus from its quick effect discard effect. Now its discard effect is you get to add a Thunder Dragon Dark from your deck to your hand. So you discard it to add another copy of itself, which can be very, very useful considering it's a quick effect. It does allow you to drop it during your opponent's turn to then put a Dark in the graveyard, helping to ensue or continue your Chaos plays. Its banish effect is you get to add one Thunder Dragon card from your deck to your hand. So that is how you get Thunder Dragon Fusion as well. Then we start dropping down to two, so we've got double Thunder Dragon Matrix. Again, the fact that this has a quick effect, discard effect to let you pop off a Titan is very important, and basically you target a Thunder monster you control and it gains 500 attack. If this card is banished, or of course sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to add a Thunder Dragon Matrix from your deck to your hand. So obviously again, you're going to be able to search out the other copy of itself, but 9 out of 10 you want this in your hand as probably one of the last Thunders that you search, so you've got a quick effect discard for your Titan play. And then finally, I'm going with the one Thunder Dragon Hawk at the moment. In previous testing and previous plays, I was using its discard effect a lot less because the idea is that throughout the combo, you'd probably go Banish, Roar, bring Dark to the board, link Dark off, get Thunder Dragon Hawk. Hawk can then be discarded to add back one. Or you would then add a Matrix and that gives you your quick effect. So it depends if you're going first or second. Its banish effect is you shuffle any number of cards from your hand back into the deck and then draw the same amount. Now, obviously, the downside of that is, I believe it is shuffled back into the deck. It's not shuffled back into the deck as cost, but if you're trying to resolve that effect, it means you've got a bit of a brick going on, which Thunder Dragons do because you do play very few normal summon monsters. Then we get onto the best engine. Now, I absolutely love this engine in this deck so much, and that is the Nemesis engine. So we play triple Flag and the one Corridor. You could arguably cut Corridor. And Corridor is also one of the reasons that maybe Colossus isn't coming back. So I'll go over Corridor first, then I'll go over Flag, because Flag is like 100 times better. So all of the Nemesis share the same effects. You target one of your banished monsters. Shame it's not banished cards, because then that would have been broken. You put it back into the deck and then you special summon this card. Now Corridor lets you target one of your banished Nemesis monsters, specifically accept itself and add it to your hand. But the reason this is so good is its effect to special summon from the hand is technically a Thunder Dragon or a Thunder monster's effect activating in the hand. So you could special summon down Corridor using its own effect and then just outright tribute off into a Thunder Dragon Colossus. So easy. So any deck that banishes could abuse Corridor that way. Flank effect is you just get to add a Nemesis monster. Now the reason that is so important is because not only can it search out Corridor, but it can search you out your Ashatos because it does have Nemesis in the name. Now if you don't want to play Ashatos, you can play Protoss. Protoss is a little bit better because it's got Dark, so you can use it as a lore fodder. So then a combo that you can do is you use a lore, banish Protoss, spin back one of your other banished cards or monsters into the deck, summon down Corridor, Corridor can then add back the Protoss. Now, Protoss and Ashatos are pretty much the same. Neither of them can be normal summoned, and they must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 monsters. So the Ashatos is 3 monsters with different types, so Dragon, Pyro, Thunder, for example, and Protoss is attributes, so Light, Fire, and Wind. Now, what they've used to pretty much summon themselves is what they can pretty much lock out. So, Ashatos' effect specifically is you declare 1 monster type on the field, destroy all monsters on the field with that type, and until the end of the next turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that type. Keep in mind, Protoss is attribute, so that's the main difference for that. You got a 3k attack, and with Protoss you've got a 3k defense, so they're just opposites of each other. So it really depends on if you've got a format where a lot of specific types are being played, so Dragon Link only dragons, or if there's a lot of different attributes, so specifically only lights and or darks, if you look at Dragon Link as an example. But then keep that in mind, if you drop this against a Zudich and you called zombies, if you dropped it against a virtual world and called, I believe, psychics, drop it against Dragon Link called dragons, drop it against Shadows called spellcasters, you pretty much shut them down quite a lot. And the thing is, all of these main cores that are being used right now, you're not technically playing. And keep in mind, with these Ashatos and Protoss, they don't have to destroy a card. So the way this works is you make Reaperdonkus. Reaperdonkus, you then summon to its zone. You make a Ashatos anything you want it to be. So you can make it a dinosaur, you can make it a dragon, or it's already a dragon, but you can make it a like a thunder, a pyro, anything you want. Declare to use this effect. Now, it doesn't need to destroy to have that lock put in place, so it doesn't need to destroy itself. So if you were to call dragons with Ashatos, its effect would go off, try to destroy as many as possible, and then neither player can summon dragons. And because Ashatos can't be destroyed by card effect outright, by declaring to use it and using whatever Ashatos becomes, just means you don't lose anything. And then you can pretty much utilize it turn after turn. Now the only downside of this is if you don't know what your opponent's playing, you've got to either do a shot in the dark and call just a random one expecting to hit that, or you don't really want to try and resolve the Ashatos your first turn. Then moving on to the Chaos Monsters. So for the big Chaos Monsters, we do play the 1 Creator, the 1 Levianeer, and the 1 Emperor. Now, Levianeer is kind of really cool because it can be utilised going first and second to either clear board or rip a card from your opponent's hand. Creator is there as a free extender because you summon him down, you get to bring back one of your light and darks that's banished and shuffle them into the deck. But the Armageddon specifically is an aggressor, so he's only going to be best going second, which is why sometimes you either side this card out, or some people just choose not to play it. It's entirely up to you. I really, really like them. All of these are searchable off of Chaos Space as well, because they all can't be normal summoned or set. You can't search Ashatos because it's not a level 8. And if you wanted to, you could play rank 8s in the extra deck as well. But the only reason I play a rank 8 is to get rid of the Levianeer. But then if I'm doing that, I'd probably use the Levianeer as link fodder to help get me into my access code. For the little Chaos Monsters, of course, you've got the 1 Black Collapse and the 1 White Wyvern. Everyone knows what these cards do. They're so good right now. The chances are they could very well get banned for Dragon Link. If they do, in this version, it's not the end of the world because you can start playing stuff like Chaos Valkyries, just as long as you've got cards that banish from the graveyard. And you can also play, I believe it's Diana, the Light of Spirits. So that's another option as well. So then we get onto our normal summons. So this is where the deck gets a little bit tricky because you need the normal summons. You need to be able to put a card in the graveyard to trigger these off. So if you don't open up Chaos Space, you're going to be looking for ways to do that. So our normal summons are triple Alu Lupine. This card's awesome. So when it is normal summoned, specifically, which is a little bit of a downside, but you banish 1 monster from your hand and then you banish 1 monster from your deck with the same type. So what makes this go really, really well is if you banish, for example, a Roar, and then you can Roar from your hand and a Dark from the deck, or vice versa. Because then by doing that, your Roar special summons out Hawk or a Matrix. Your Dark can then add you a Thunder Dragon or a Matrix or a Thunder Dragon Fusion, and straight away you've already got 2 banished Thunder Dragon monsters, so you need 1 more, which could possibly be the Hawk or the Matrix when you link it off, to then go into a Titan. So you've got a lot of consistency to do it, and Lupine is so good because it banishes as cost as well. So as long as the summon is successful, even if they decide to try and ash your Roar or your Dark or your Lupine or anything like that, you're still going to get 1 effect off. The other normal summon in the deck is Batteryman Solar. Now, this one is if it's normal or special, which is kind of cool, mainly because if it comes off of Reasoning. But your 9 times out of 10, you want your Lupine to be your normal summon. It's going to be those cases where you're going to see Lupine and Solar in your hand at the same time, which you hate, but it happens. But you still need your ability to normal summon a monster. Now, obviously, with Batteryman Solar, rather than banishing a card, he's going to send a card, which then sets up your graveyard for your Chaos plays as well. Then we've gone with the best generic hand trap right now, and Ash Blossom can easily be imperms. It's entirely up to you on which one you want to use. If you don't want to play these at all, you can take this out for a Red Eyes, Dark Magician, and a Red Eyes Fusion, and put Verte Anaconda in your extra deck. I specifically chosen not to do that. They're good because they're dark monsters, so you could technically, once they're in the graveyard for Verte, use effects to do it. But I'm actually going a bit more with the Ashatos plays with the Nemesis flags, rather than worrying about opening up that one Thunder Dragon, Red Eyes Fusion, or opening up that Dark Magician and having an additional brick in the deck that you don't really want. Then moving on to the spells, of course, we've got triple Chaos Space. This card's nuts. So you send a light or dark monster from your hand to the graveyard, and you get to add a light or dark monster that cannot be normal summoned or set. So it searches you out your Wyverns, it searches you out your Black Collapse, it searches you out your Chaos Creator, it searches you out so much, it's so consistent, it's so powerful, such a good card. And it's a nice little draw card as well. Triple Allure of Darkness, you know, you're playing a lot of darks. So this is the only reason that Protoss might be a little bit better, because you can banish it. But you've got a lot of darks, and 3 of your dark, or technically 6 of your darks within your deck, your triple Raws and triple darks, all get an effect if they're banished. So not only do you get to draw through your deck a little bit, but you can also set up a banish effect off the back of Allure. Then got 2 Thunder Dragon Fusions in case the first one gets negated, or in case it's a bit of a grind game and you've banished one of these already to get you a search, you've still got the second one to search out, and you can go from there. Keyman as well, if you banish this as well, your Raw can add this back. So 1 Call by the Grave, because at 1 you want to try and make sure your Nemesis, like if your opponent doesn't know what your Nemesis do and doesn't know the threat of the Arch Nemesis, then you don't really need to worry too much about the Call by the Grave, but you still want to be able to try and protect your stuff. Like Lancier sucks. If you get Lanciered, it really, really hurts. So especially with Dragon Link running around, chances are that's something that's going to be put into the side deck. Reasoning, you play levels 1s, 4s, 6s, 7s, and 8s. Plus, if you hit all of your cards that can't be normal summoned or set or special summoned, you just put them in the graveyard and you've got them for free Chaos Fodder. And then a Gold Sarcophagus, because you activate Gold Sark, this can then banish your Raw or your Dark. And this is one of the casualties that they lost in the ban list, being that with that being hit to 1, they lost a big bit of consistency, which isn't the end of the world, but it does make a big, big difference. So now on to the extra. So the extra's got a bit of space that you can play around with. It really depends on your play style and the routes you want to go. But we start off with triple Thunder Dragon Titan. Now, you don't need to play triple. It's just there that if you've got 1 in the graveyard already and you need the ability for shuffling one of them back, keep in mind it is a Thunder Dragon as well, so you can recycle them. There are the odd times where you might have 2 in the grave, and then that's it. So you can't really grind into the 3rd. It's very rare, but it does happen, so it's something to keep in mind. If you did want to, you could cut it down to 2 quite easily. For the Link monsters, we've got the Defensive of Link Karibo when you turn your Matrix into it. Sometimes Matrix is the only normal summon you open up with, and you still need to get a light in the graveyard. So you normal summon your Matrix, link Matrix off into Link Karibo. Matrix will then search you out another copy of itself, and then you've got a light in the graveyard to probably help you out with your Black Collapse or anything like that. Relinquish Anima, again, same as Link Karibo, but the more aggressor. There are times where you will actually make this because your opponent doesn't even consider you having it, and you just get to steal one of their opponent's monsters. IP Masquerena, again, you can, technically, if you play this correctly, you can end your board on like a Link 4 plus a Shatos and a Titan. Other options that you do have is you do have the ability of getting into an IP Masquerena with the ability of linking during your opponent's turn into an Avramax or an Appaloosa, or even the BLS Link 3. It's entirely up to you. I'm then playing the 1 Cross Sheep, so this is technically your Verte Anaconda if you wanted to go that route. But the reason I've gone with the Cross Sheep is it gives me the ability to consistently build up my board. So yes, the only time I'm going to trigger this off is with Titan, but you should be aiming to get Titan by the end of your turn 9 times out of 10. So if you're going aggressive and you're going second, what that will allow you to do is that just gives you additional fodder to go into something, maybe Borrow Sword if you don't have an access code, but it does give you the ability to go into access code. And then by doing that, not only is Access Code going to clear off the board quite consistently and easily, but so will Titan, and then you've pretty much got game from that point on. And then if you're going defensively, because you're not locking yourself out with Verti Anaconda not being able to special summon from that point on, you do then get the ability to make your Link 4 quite consistently if you want to get rid of your Shatos. And then it means your opponent is facing down a 3 negate Appaloosa, a Titan with a pop, and then they've already been locked out under a Shatos. And then, of course, the Reaperdonkus. So this is so important because this lets your Shatos or Protoss become absolutely anything. And what that then does is you can trigger that to become any type. It's a little bit easier with Reaperdonkus, but you can obviously allow it to be attribute or type. And then if you know what your opponent's playing, you make your Shatos whatever you want to, or your Protoss whatever you want it to be, declare their effects, your opponent's completely locked out. Keep in mind, you are locked out, but the chances are that you're not going to be declaring like a Thunder or anything like that. We've then got the Nightmare package of your Phoenix, your Cerberus, and your Unicorn. Now, the reason these are so good is because they give you that additional discard fodder. So it gives you the ability to put a light or dark in the graveyard that you might need to make one of your Chaos plays, and then it also either pops a back row, pops a front row, or spins an opponent's monster. We've then got the Topologic Trispania, because what actually makes this really, really good and effective in this deck is it clears off your opponent's back row, it burns your opponent, but it also banishes monsters that are special summoned to a zone it points to. So if you were to special summon like one of your Thunder Dragons to a zone it points to, but you get it banished, it's not the end of the world because it triggers that banish effect. So Topologic Trispania will clear your opponent's back row, burn them, and then you still get a plus off the monster. And because you've got Trispania, after you've cleared back row, you just go Trispania plus the monster that's been special summoned off of the banish effect. Go into Access Code Talker, wham, bam, thank you. You've pretty much won the game from there because your burn could be anywhere. What is it, 500 per spell and trap for each of their banished spells and traps. So you're then going to be making Access Code, which is going to go up to at least 53. So you've still got enough to burn your opponent down a little bit more, if not win from there. BLS, you play a lot of high-level monsters, so BLS is one of the best options for you. The defensive Link 4 in Appaloosa, the aggressive Link 4 in Access Code Talker, and then the spicy touch of the Underworld of the Goddess, just because whether you're going to go IP into Appaloosa, you can also go IP into Goddess, and technically that counts as another form of interruption. So your opponent puts a Link 2 monster on the board, and even if it's got a quick effect, they would have to respond to Appaloosa. So you could go IP, and they'll be like, alright, what are they going to do? They're going to use Unicorn, and Unicorn's then going to try and discard to target to spin my card back. So they go, yeah, alright, absolutely fine. So for example, if they have Dragon Spheres. Now, they could obviously chain Dragon Spheres to bounce, which if they do that, you've already outed one of their problem cards. But if they're like, you know what, I'll wait for Unicorn to come on the board, they'll then have to discard a card to then target my card, and then I can respond to bounce a Unicorn. And if you go, cool, Appaloosa, use your spheres, like there's no response window. It's like Super Poly that you don't need to target or declare what you're going to use to link with. So you just go IP's effect, and they go, yep, fine, and then you link someone, you go, right, okay, bring out Underworld of the Goddess, and I'm using your spheres. And they're like, crap, yeah, that's a thing. So this is actually a very, very good underrated card, and I really, really like it, especially in the right deck. So in a deck like this, when you can easily spam out a couple of monsters once your Chaos Engine gets going, the card is nuts, absolutely nuts, and puts in so much work. So definitely worth playing her, in my opinion. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for the Thunder Dragon Chaos deck, one of the Fallen meta decks. As you remember, Thunder Dragons, I can't actually recall off the top of my head if they actually won a big event. I think they were one of the decks that were constantly finishing second. But love it nonetheless. One of my favourite decks. I used to play Dino Thunder, which was incredibly fun. And that actually got me one of my my regional tops. And funny enough, I won the Thunder Dragon map with it. So I was super stoked with that. But still, an incredibly fun deck. I love it. I love the Chaos support. Chaos support is probably something we're always going to continue to get. And you never know that one day in the future, we may very well get Thunder Dragon Colossus back. And if we do, this deck is only going to be able to get a little bit better as well. But as absolutely always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said at the start of the video, you get this up to at least 50 likes, I will bring you either a test hand video or, of course, a duel video showing you the absolute power of this deck. But with all of that out of the way, thank you so much for watching. As absolutely always, guys, stay safe and happy dueling.
Show yourself, Obelisk the Tormentor!
Settle game as I call your name! Winged Dragon of Wrong! I summon the almighty Swiper the Sky Dragon!